Toyota just did something that nobody saw coming. While the rest of the automotive industry is obsessed with giant screens, subscription fees, and engines that expire the day your warranty ends, Japanese engineers have quietly gone to war. Their 2026 SUV lineup includes a model with an internal engineering standard of 20 years, not a 5-year lease. 20 years of punishment, but that is not even the most shocking part. What engineers just revealed about their new torture testing protocols will make every American SUV manufacturer panic. We are talking about engines run at redline for 3 days straight that refuse to brake. We are talking about transmissions that are so overbuilt they are technically banned in certain efficiency-obsessed markets for being too heavy. In the next few minutes, we are counting down the 7 Japanese SUVs that are rewriting the rules of reliability for 2026. You'll learn why SUV number 4 uses a transmission that mechanics call the Vault, and the final vehicle on this list, its engine failure point was simply never found. Be warned, if you bought an SUV in the last 2 years, there's a high chance it will never reach 200,000 miles. But the cars on this list, they're just getting started. Number 7 is the vehicle that killed the myth that hybrids are fragile once and for all, the 2026 Honda CR-V Hybrid. Honda rebuilt this powertrain from the ground up, and the changes run deeper than sheet metal. For years, skeptics said batteries degrade and complexity kills. Honda took that personally. For 2026, they introduced a 4th-generation hybrid system that utilizes dual thermal management. Heat is the silent killer of batteries. Most manufacturers just use a simple fan. Honda is now liquid cooling and air cooling the packs simultaneously. They tested this system in Death Valley at 130 degrees Fahrenheit, running the AC at max, climbing grades for 72 hours straight. The result was 0 thermal degradation. This means the battery you buy in 2026 will likely have 90% of its capacity in 2036. But the real mechanic secret here is the transmission. It isn't a CVT in the traditional sense. It has no belts to snap. It has no pulleys to groove. It is actually a single-speed reduction gear with 2 massive electric motors. It is 2 steel gears locked together. It is virtually impossible to brake mechanically. If you want an appliance that is as reliable as a hammer, this is it. Number 6 represents a company that refuses to cut costs where you can't see them, the 2026 CX-50. In the 1990s and 2000s, Mazda had a problem. Their cars were fun, but they rusted if you looked at them wrong. They didn't just fix it, they became obsessed. The 2026 CX-50 rolling out of their Alabama plant features a zinc-rich primer and galvanized steel panels that rival luxury cars costing double the price. Mechanics in the Rust Belt are reporting 5-year-old Mazdas with 0 structural corrosion. That is unheard of. But the engineering flex here is the engine. While competitors are squeezing 300 horsepower out of tiny, stressed-out engines, Mazda did the unthinkable. They actually lowered the horsepower in the 2026 Skyactiv engine to 187. Why? To reduce cylinder pressure. They call it gentle combustion. By lowering the stress and lengthening the stroke, you get torque earlier without redlining the engine. Lower RPMs equal less wear. It is a philosophy that prioritizes longevity over marketing numbers. Number 5 is on this list because they finally fixed the one thing that terrified owners, the 2026 Subaru Outback Wilderness. For decades, if you bought a Subaru, you whispered 2 words in fear: Head Gasket. It was the brand's Achilles heel, but for 2026, the engine uses a completely new architecture. The gaskets are multi-layer steel and the deck surface is machined to a mirror finish. Subaru ran these engines through 2,000 thermal cycles, heating them to boiling and freezing them to -40 with a 0% failure rate. And let's talk about the transmission. People hate CVTs because they slip, but the Wilderness model uses the high-torque linear-tronic transmission. Unlike Nissan, which uses a push belt, Subaru uses a heavy-duty chain. It grips instantly. It handles the torque of off-roading without slipping. Combine that with quarter-inch steel skid plates protecting the oil pan, and you have a station wagon built like a tank. Before we get to the top 4, you need to understand something. The vehicles we just looked at are great daily drivers, but the next 4, they're different. They're built using a manufacturing philosophy that is dying. In the modern world, engineers are told to design parts to last just long enough to survive the lease. The next 4 vehicles rejected that order. They chose materials that are heavier, more expensive, and harder to work with, simply because they refuse to fail. These are the vehicles you buy when you want to opt out of the system. Number 4 is the 2026 Lexus GX550. This SUV is built on the GAF platform, the same steel ladder frame used by the massive Land Cruiser 300. While other luxury brands are moving to unibody, car-like construction to save money, Lexus kept the frame. It uses 14 massive bolts to connect the body to the chassis. Most trucks use 8. Why 14? Because Lexus assumes you will overload it. They assume you will tow 8,000 pounds over washboard roads for a decade. The extra connection points prevent the body from cracking due to metal fatigue. And the engine is a twin-turbo V6. Critics worried about the turbos, but here is the detail they missed. This is a commercial-grade engine. It uses an electronically controlled wastegate to dump heat instantly after you turn the car off. It prevents heat soak, the #1 killer of turbo bearings. It is a million-mile industrial design hiding in a tuxedo. Number 3 is the truck that holds its value better than gold, the 2026 Toyota 4Runner. Yes, they finally dropped the old V6 for a turbo 4-cylinder, and I know that scares you, but you need to know about the Tahara Standard. The 4Runner is built in the Tahara plant in Japan. This is the most legendary factory in the automotive world. Workers there are not allowed on the assembly line until they prove they can hand polish metal to a mirror finish within microns of tolerance. The build quality of a 4Runner is arguably higher than vehicles costing $100,000. The new engine produces massive torque at just 1,700 RPM. Why does that number matter? Because low RPM means low stress. The old V6 had to scream at 4,000 RPM to get moving. The new engine creates massive power while barely spinning. Less friction, less heat, longer life. Toyota tested this powertrain by simulating 300,000 miles of towing at maximum capacity. They didn't just want it to survive, they wanted it to remain within factory specs. Number 2 is the 2026 Honda Pilot TrailSport. It looks like a school-run taxi, but underneath, this is closer to a military logistics vehicle than a family SUV. It uses the legendary J-Series V6. This engine has been in production for nearly 30 years. Every leak, every bug, every timing belt issue was engineered out of existence 2 decades ago. And the torture test? Honda took pre-production pilots to Hell's Revenge in Moab, Utah. They ran them on rock-crawling trails for 30 consecutive days, 8 hours a day. At the end of the month, they stripped the suspension down. They expected broken control arms. They expected shattered bushings. They found wear equivalent to just 50,000 miles highway mileage. The engineers were baffled. If it can handle Moab for a month, it can handle your potholes for 20 years. But number 1 is the vehicle that sets the standard for the entire world, the 2026 Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota has an internal engineering requirement for this vehicle called service life. Most cars are designed for 15-year service life. The Land Cruiser is engineered for 25-year, 500,000-mile service life in third-world countries with bad fuel and zero maintenance. The rear differential is basically farm equipment. It uses a mechanical design that hasn't changed since the 1980s because it simply never fails. The electronics have backups. If the electronic throttle fails, there is a limp mode. If the transfer case computer dies, you can manually override it. Toyota designs this car assuming that every computer will eventually break, and they ensure the truck will still get you home when that happens. They sent 50 test units to the Australian Outback for 100,000 miles of abuse. 47 of them came back under their own power. The 3 that didn't, they were crashed. 0 mechanical failures. The industry wants you to lease. They want you to upgrade. They want you to treat cars like disposable iPhones. These 7 Japanese SUVs are the middle finger to that business model. They are built to be inherited, not traded in. Which one of these do you think will still be running in 2046? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to know the 5 American SUVs you need to avoid at all costs, the ones mechanics refuse to work on, click this video right here.